doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL? NFL draft prospects and rookies? Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man JRich.
Count that money, man.
Now wipe the crust out of your eyes, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense and you sound silly as hell. GMGP, it is Friday, October the 13th, 2023. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with Ray G. Appreciate y'all being in the building. I see Dan in the building, Jimbo, Marlon, Dan, Bennett, Rich, Brandon's in the building, Dynasty Alex, Fizzle Dollars in the building. He's on the mic. Thomas in the building, Greg, Jimbo, JRich. How you doing this morning, baby? How's it going? I'm glad JRich is here. We got a dope show online for y'all today because the NFL is popping in a couple of days. We got college football tomorrow. It's going to be a good show. Turn the music down, JRich. Good. Turn the music down. Turn the music down, damn it. Turn it off. How are you doing this morning, JRich? Good Lord. Turn it off, man. Turn it off.
I'm good, but when you said it the first time, I was like, does he want me to interject here? Because you're kind of in the middle of your intro. But yeah, I messed up doing the crossfade on the intro
Good
music,
Lord,
so
man.
My bad for that. I will get it right next time. Yeah, I turned it all the way down, but didn't turn the music off. So when I turned it back up for the sounders so I can get the air horns going, messed it up, man. But I'm glad to be back. You know, you see, I'm wearing the custom JSN jersey, right?
I see you.
That I got made on draft day because I just knew that he was going to be playing for the Seahawks. We're manifesting today, people. We're manifesting. I saw a tweet the other day about JSN. Not looking good. Not looking good.
We'll see.
We're not going to say anything further than that, but not looking good.
They're coming off.
But Ray, how are you doing, man?
They're coming off of a bye. I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful that they get stuff going for Mr. Jackson Smith and Jigba. But it's not looking good right now, Jay. But I'm doing well. Got to do the pleasantries and the introductions before we get started with the show. So please, please, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, like the content, comment below. Let us know what you think about these players that are on tap for this Sunday's slate. Make sure you check out the podcast feed and DestinationDevy.com. Articles dropping every single day, different types of content, IDP, strategy, trade advice, all types of stuff. And all of our dope creators, man. Shout out to everybody out there doing stuff for Destination Devy, Ike and Off the Line, the Overreaction Boys, Cody and Chase, Gump and Derek, The College Show. Y'all know the Trades in 5 crew. And you also know that your roster stink right now and you got to get them reviewed. So make sure you go scan this thing right here. Scan the QR code. Get your rosters reviewed by Shane and Scott and the Trades in 5 team. You know, the partnership is very dope. So go get those rosters reviewed, sign the QR code, or head to dynastytradesin5.com to get those rosters reviewed. JRich, it's time to go, baby. It's time to go. Got football this Sunday, a lot of news, a lot of different things going on. And we're going to preview all of the games this upcoming weekend, except the Monday night game. We're going to talk about the Cowboys on Monday. We're not talking about no damn Dallas Cowboys today. Not going to do it. So let's just go ahead and get into the important sort of news and notes so we can roll into the Sunday slate, Jay.
All right, so lots of news today. We'll get into the IR very briefly. I mean, a lot of you guys already know this stuff. Jefferson IR, James Conner, A-Chain, and Ray, I believe Anthony Richardson also placed on IR. So we'll see these guys in 4 weeks. We'll reevaluate them then. You know, Amari Mercado, going to see what he can do for the Cardinals. We may touch on him a little bit. A-Chain, hopefully going to be back when he's ultimately healthy, but we're not so sure about him. He may be out a little bit longer. Same with Anthony Richardson. We've seen reports that he could be out beyond the IR period. And Jefferson, all depends on Minnesota, right? Are they in it? Are they out of it? Does he even want to play for this team by the time week 10 rolls around? I think he will, but we'll see. They could be 1-7, 1-8. We'll see where they ultimately land out. But big news out of Carolina. We've seen the struggles for Bryce Young, and apparently they're going to be simplifying the verbiage, Ray. Now, I'm not a college football player. I did not even play much in high school. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what verbiage this high-level stuff is that Frank Reich is using for his quarterback. You know, it was reported that Young, of course, is a high-level processor. His S2 score was off the charts, they said.
Yeah.
But according to Ian Rappaport, he's being asked to do more early in his career than other quarterbacks like CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson. I'm not here to comment on whether he is or not, but it certainly sounds like an excuse for a quarterback who is struggling on a team, to be fair, that is really bad. I think there's a lot of things that go into play here, but apparently going to simplify the verbiage for Bryce Young. Hopefully that will make his job a little bit easier overall, and we'll see where it lands them in Carolina. Shane Steichen said that they will be ramping up Jonathan Taylor this week. against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously only had 10 snaps last week, 15% snap share. We will get into him when we talk about the Jags versus the Colts. But Taylor will be active and obviously getting hopefully more snaps he did last week. Kind of screwed people over if you played him because everyone's waiting for JT to come back for him to do absolutely nothing and for Zach Moss to go off. Treylon Burks, Ray, will not be traveling to London to face off against the Baltimore Ravens, so we will see no Treylon Burks this week. He's been not practicing. We don't know what his timetable is for return, but not traveling to London is definitely not a great sign for Burks and his potential prognosis to come back. The biggest quote probably that came out all week was Dan Campbell on David Montgomery, and this is in a larger quote, him talking about, he was asked about Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and what it's like to have David Montgomery on his roster. And he said he's a workhorse, he's dependable, and he's a finisher, kind of a smaller piece of a larger quote. Gibbs is a guy who is a changeup, who will get plenty of touches, but that doesn't mean they will come in carries. It could be in the pass game or in gadget plays, which is basically a death sentence for anybody who drafted Jahmyr Gibbs in fantasy football right now. We do not want to hear quotes like gadget or only in the passing game. We need carries for fantasy relevance, especially at the spot we drafted him at. The biggest story out of Cleveland right now is Deshaun Watson. Jacina Anderson already reported that he will not be playing Week 6 against the Niners, and it was Mary Kay Cabot who broke the story earlier in the week, who says that Deshaun Watson has a bruised rotator cuff that can take up to 6 weeks to heal. Now, the weird part is that Watson has been medically cleared to practice, but he's not practicing. He didn't play in Week 4. They had to bye in Week 5. Now it's Week 6, and he's already been ruled out on Friday. That is not a good sign for Deshaun Watson. Austin Eckler supposed to be back, full participant in practice, so should be back on Monday. He said himself, 99% chance of playing. Jeff Wilson has a limited practice that he got in, expected to play this week. That was per the OC Frank Smith from the Dolphins. Tank Dell was a DMP on Thursday, and so we don't expect him to play. Seems very unlikely with the concussion. Chris Olave, full participant. Mike Evans was limited. We are expecting him back, hopefully. It was initially reported that he wasn't at practice on Thursday, but that was only during the media available portion of the practice. He got a limited practice in after the fact. We got Jahmyr Gibbs DMP on Thursday, trending towards not playing. Same with Sam Laporte, Ray, who is dealing with a calf injury right now. T. Higgins said it's looking promising of him potentially playing this week. They are on bye next week. So if he doesn't play this week, we'll be back next week. And then Miles Sanders dealing with multiple injuries. Saquon Barkley back at practice. The Atlanta Falcons, Ray, traded for Van Jefferson out of nowhere. And Bam Knight, this is reported early this morning by Adam Schefter, season-ending shoulder injury for Bam Knight. So we're not going to see any Bam Knight in Detroit. Probably good news if you own Jahmyr Gibbs. But that is the large portion of the news, Ray. Is there anything you want to touch on from all of that news?
That's a lot of news, Jay. It's a lot of news. One of the things that we didn't talk about, man, one of the craziest things that I saw, and I really couldn't believe he played with the burns, but the reported David Njoku and the burns that he had at his house. And then you saw this picture, Jay. He played with his face burnt to that degree in his arms. Like, when I saw this, I was just like, wow, like how did he do that? I don't know what he's expected to do this week, but he played last week with burns over his body like this. This was crazy, Jay. That is a crazy thing. And man, what a beast. What a damn beast. Yeah. I mean, I burned my arm on the iron and I'm almost out of there for the day, man, let alone something like that. So prayers up to Njoku, and he seems to be in good spirits and doing fine and getting together. But that was just wild, man. The only thing that I want to touch on that you talked about is it's funny how times change and how things shift, because David Montgomery is the fan favorite now. And at one point in time, people hated old David Montgomery. You remember those days where, remember that meme?
Yep.
The feed of Saquon Barkley,
yeah.
the
it was the quickness of Sony Michel, I think, was one of the things on that graphic.
I've actually
you're gonna find the old Iowa State's finest, David Montgomery.
Yeah, people used to make fun of David Montgomery, and now David Montgomery is a desirable asset here in all fantasy football. But Jay, we got to get to the games. We got a bunch of games on tap this weekend. So where are we starting at with the first game, and what are some of the biggest fantasy storylines coming out of that first game? And I believe it's the Cleveland game, right?
We can touch on the Cleveland game first, but
one thing
I do want to ask you quickly.
Oh, go ahead.
We have Falcons and Commanders, but do you want to skip over Thursday? Because I'm cool with that.
I tried to.
I'm cool with that.
We can't do it. We got to. Let's go to it.
I didn't want to bring it up, but I'm like, if you want to talk about it, we can't. I would rather talk about the Phillies and Braves because that was a much better game. But
this game was horrible. let's talk about it.
It was terrible.
Chiefs got the dub. What was the score? 18 to 18, 16 to 8,
16 to 8. 16 to 8. Cortland Sutton, good touchdown catch.
It was a nice touchdown catch from Cortland Sutton. He got it done.
Patrick Mahomes, 300 yards. Kelsey, 100 yards.
Russell Wilson, 95 yards. 95 yards for Russell Wilson. 95 passing yards for Russ. And then Jerry Jeudy making a scene before the game, and people were like, I'm betting 100 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 3 catches, 14 yards. Jay, dude, this Broncos team is so bad. How do they have one win? How do they have one win?
Well, that's a great question. Yeah. Well, how do they have one win? That is a great question, Ray.
Okay, so let's talk
against
about
the Bears of all teams.
Let's talk about it. From the Chiefs side, Mahomes is Mahomes to a degree, launching a bunch of picks. I know you were a little disappointed by some of the interceptions he's been throwing. Travis Kelce, 9 for, I believe, 124 in the game, so he smashed. Looked like Kelce. I think he did tweak his ankle towards the end of that game. I don't. He
was rolled up on, late in the game. I forget. It was just like over the middle of the field. Guy didn't roll the ankle, but grabbed it. He had to limp out, but came back in after a play, so he's okay. But yeah, I mean, the only real takeaway for me is Rashee Rice continues to show he's the best receiver on their team. Now, of course, that doesn't include Travis Kelce. But in terms of wide receivers, Sky Moore should be dead. Like, he shouldn't be a thing anymore. Like, we can confidently say that. It's just Rashee Rice. He's the only player that you really want to have. Was great over the middle, making plays after the catch. Like, you want Rashee Rice, you could probably start him almost every single week. And I think he's been great so far for fantasy football, and it will only continue to improve. On the other side, Ray, I thought Javonte Williams looked pretty good. Limited touches because they didn't really get him the ball that much, only 10 carries. Outside of that, though, I mean, Russ was awful. Cortland Sutton made a great catch in the end zone, which kind of saved his day. Jerry Jeudy didn't do much of anything. Samaje Perine fumbled the game away.
Yep.
I mean, there's not really a whole lot to talk about here. Like I said, the only takeaway for me really is Rashee Rice. If you didn't watch the game, I thought he looked great, ran a lot of routes, and definitely is cementing himself as the number 1 wide receiver on the Kansas City Chiefs right now.
Yeah, Joe said it. She said Broncos turned to ass, like straight up donkeys. They weren't Broncos. They weren't Stallions. They were terrible, right? It's, I don't know, Jay. I don't know if it's a Sean Payton thing, if it's a Russell Wilson thing, if it's a receivers, offensive line. I'm making excuses for this team, but ultimately they look bad. They look inept. They do they have their first round pick, or was it this year's first round pick that they gave up to get Sean Payton? So I'm just asking, who has it? The Saints have the Broncos first?
It'd be the Saints, yeah. It'd be the Saints.
What's the projected draft order right now? So
Denver has their pick. The Saints have their second round pick. It was a second, third swap.
Okay, so they didn't trade a first round pick for Sean Payton.
Their pick is second overall right now because they're the only team that's 1-5.
Man, $100 million quarterback or $250 million quarterback, Jay. If they're picking in the range to get a quarterback, what do you think Denver does? The reports are everybody's on the table for the Broncos. The reports
Jeudy was heavily talked about yesterday as a trade candidate, right? Before the Steve Smith news. So it's kind of funny how that all played out.
What do you think about that, man? Some people, I saw people say that it was unprofessional, that Steve Smith got in his feelings, and you don't do that. You don't mess with players' money. I don't know.
I think both sides are fair, right? Kind of however you want to look at it. I think that, former players kind of do get a pass to criticize other players more than an analyst would. Like, if an analyst said that about Jerry Jeudy, they would be heavily scrutinized for that, I feel.
But he is an analyst.
And it would be. No, I get that, but I think he gets away with it a little more because he's a former player, Hall of Famer, right? All those things. He's credentialed, right? He's done it all. He's been there. So he kind of has the right more than anybody else, which is fair or foul, depends how you look at it, right? He does maybe have the right more than a lot of people do, but is it professional to do something like that? Probably not, right? For me or you to say it, it's unprofessional. For him to say it, yes, he has the cachet, but regardless, you're still messing with the player's money, his opportunity to make money or play on another team. Like, that's rough, but we know those conversations happen. So him to say it publicly, it's kind of like, well, you're just kind of stating the obvious. That's going to happen behind closed doors.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think it's a question of Steve Smith being right or wrong. You know what I mean? There are things that could be objectively true, whether that be the size of a person, the height of a person, the hairstyle, the cut, whatever it may be. doesn't mean that it's right or they're wrong, but is it the right tone, the right place, the right manner to say those things? It felt a little unprofessional by Steve Smith to take a national platform to voice his personal grievances against Jerry Jeudy, regardless if it was true or not. Seemed a little
But did
unprofessional.
Jeudy start it?
He did, but you're in
It
a
sounds
position,
like he did, right?
but you're in a position to where like you should kind of look past that. Neither here nor there. I mean, it'd be no different than people coming in here and jumping on you. Like it would be crazy for you to just immediately stop and react to that. But neither here nor there. He was not lying. I just was curious as to your thoughts on the commentary from Steve Smith. Jerry Jeudy he's not playing very well. I'll say that. To be a first-round pick, to have the type of buzz that he had coming out of Alabama, he's not playing well. And the Broncos don't play well. Jay, I don't know if there's anybody that I even really want to start offensively from this team. Nobody. I don't care about Jaleel McLaughlin's not going to get enough touches. Tight ends. I guess Cortland Sutton, since he's the red zone weapon, but there's nobody that I want to start from Denver. And on the Kansas City side, I'm 100% with you, man. Rashee Rice, I think towards the end of this season, the back half of this season, that's going to be a player that we're all like, man, I wish I would have traded for Rashee Rice earlier. Look good, look physical. We liked his college profile. I liked him personally when I got to meet him. It was a really nice young man. I think Rashee Rice, I'm not going to say they found their wide receiver of the future, but they found a wide receiver that I think Patrick Mahomes could start to depend on, rely on, and hopefully we see him get some more run moving forward. Isaiah Pacheco had a good game but didn't score. Kelsey had a great game but didn't score. It's just an ugly game. Do away with Thursday Night Football. I'd rather have a Saturday night NFL game.
But it conflicts with college, right? Like that's the problem.
Yeah,
is the whole scheduling thing.
What would you rather have, 2 Monday night games? Would you rather go dual Monday nights or a Thursday night game?
See, I'm okay with dual Monday nights, but the problem is that they always run at the same time, right? So they have the 7 o'clock start, 8 o'clock start, and there isn't really you can't do a 6 o'clock and a 9 o'clock because the 9 o'clock game is going like way into the night, right? Yeah. So it's a bit of an issue as far as I'm concerned. I'd be fine with Saturday football, but they don't want to conflict with college, and it seems like they don't want to conflict with high school even. That's why they don't do Friday night football because of Friday Night Lights, all that stuff. But it is what it is, and I think it's funny because like the NFL is king. Who cares about anybody else? Like everyone books their schedule around the NFL. It's not the other way around, right? So the NFL should kind of just do whatever they want to do.
So, here's a comment for you. I don't care what day it's on. Just don't want to watch the Broncos on national TV. We'll get ready for the Sunday night game because that's a doozy, and we'll get to it in a little bit, Jay. So let's start off with the top game, Jay. It's the Falcons game, right? Falcons and Commanders. Talk about it.
Yes, we have the Washington Commanders versus the Atlanta Falcons, Ray, and I'm kind of excited for this one. You know, Sam Howell, for everything he hasn't been, okay for fantasy, keeping Washington in games, terrible for all of the weapons on the roster. And of course, the Atlanta Falcons, because I know that you are loving yourself some Desmond Ridder right now, but I think that Ridder versus Howell is an interesting conversation. You know, both are second-year quarterbacks coming into their own in their second year, didn't see a ton of action last year. Now are at the helm, trying to earn jobs long-term, and I think they both have an opportunity to do so. But how do you feel about Desmond Ridder? Because it seems like it's a great spot for him to have another great game, but is he actually going to do it again after a big win against Houston last week?
This is the storyline for me. Out of this game, it's these two quarterbacks. Because the thing is, Jay, I don't believe that either of these two teams are going to finish low enough to truly be in a QB sweepstakes that matters at this point in time. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no clue who QB3 is in the class, or I don't even know who I would put my name out there on as the third quarterback in this class. It's Caleb Williams. It's Drake May. Those are the top two quarterbacks in the class. I don't believe that either of these two teams will be in a range to draft one of those two guys. Therefore, there's a chance. There's a chance that both of these teams go into next year at least on another prove-it type season with these quarterbacks. If I had to put money on it right now, which one of the two it would be, I don't know how secure Ron Rivera's job is. Therefore, new head coach, normally new quarterback. I feel very good or very confident that Arthur Smith, unfortunately, is probably going to remain the coach in Atlanta. And Desmond Ridder did have a big game. He had a 329-yard game last week, didn't turn the ball over, no sacks, ran the ball well. The offense got to move it around a little bit. So this should be a good matchup for these two. And I'm going to be watching this one. You know, you've got Jonnu Smith in this game, of course. Bijan Robinson, you want to see how he does. On the Washington Commanders side of the ball, Jay, there's There's not a lot that I have over there to get excited about offensively. The distribution of targets to the receivers makes it hard.
Awful.
Don't ask me if I would start McLaurin over this person, because it's like, I don't even know if it's McLaurin, Dotson, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas. I have no clue. Sam Howell's just putting it wherever, he's distributing the ball all over the place, Jay. So for me, the biggest storylines are the two quarterbacks in this game. And I would say the two tight ends from Atlanta. Jonnu Smith, a lot of people thought that he was just kind of a facade, something fake, just fool's gold. But he's continuing to earn targets. He was right there along with Kyle Pitts in targets. I believe he was second on the team in yards last game behind Kyle Pitts. So if you've got Jonnu Smith, Jay, you could fire up Jonnu Smith. I'm starting him in multiple leagues this week.
Yeah, I think you should. People often forget that he had a phenomenal season under Arthur Smith in Tennessee. So he wasn't trading for a guy that he didn't know could do it, right? So I think that's a big factor as well, just acclimating to an offense and learning the system. Like, Jonnu Smith didn't have to do any of that. So it's easy to see why he was able to come in and produce so quickly. But as you mentioned, leading receiver behind Kyle Pitts last week, and has been the leading receiver ahead of Kyle Pitts at times as well. So definitely have to fire him up. But yeah, for me, it's Sam Howell. I talked about on my podcast, I believe that he's a little bit underrated right now. And you can still buy him as a viable QB2. He's scored 15 fantasy points or more in terms of ESPN scoring in 3 of 4 games, or 4 or 5 games so far this season. Only game he didn't was Buffalo, obviously, because he only scored like 0.9 points. But I think you realize that he's actually been pretty solid. QB7 last week, and he's only behind Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, and CJ Stroud right now. So guys that people would consider starting in their lineups, but they don't necessarily think about Sam Howell in the same light. So for me, I think you can think about Sam Howell as a potential QB2. And you may want to buy him in some leagues where you're trying to stay competitive or struggling at quarterback right now.
Antoine Davis said Jonnu or Mingo in the flex spot.
Easily, Jonnu. Easily.
Yeah, and I don't even I don't even like putting tight ends in flex spots personally. It is suboptimal. Go to destinationdevi.com, check out the War Machine, plug in your league, and your league will tell you the optimal positions that should be in your flex spot and your starter spots. Go there, dd.com, check it out. Greg said, I was able to get out of Drake London. Gave Deshaun Watson, Drake London, 2 earliest first in 24. Got Lamar and Christian McCaffrey. Jay, would you have done that deal? Give up Deshaun Watson, Drake London, and 2 firsts to get Lamar Jackson and CMC.
If you got to, right?
I'm
it's just
doing
one of those deals you got to do.
If I'm trying to win, there's not even a question. I would do this if I was a
big price.
I'm trying to win. If I win the league, I don't give a shit about the price tag. Like, am I saying that I would do this in all situations, no matter what? No. But if my team was built to win and I thought Drake London was going to be a stud receiver and that kind of went away and I can get off London. I mean, what is Deshaun Watson's value right now? Honestly, let's get to that game. That's a great segue to talk about Deshaun Watson. So we've got the San Francisco 49ers visiting the Cleveland Browns. Frisco coming off of that big win versus Dallas. Could this be a trap game for San Francisco? Could it be a trap game for The reason why I asked this, listen. The reason why I asked this is Cleveland's got a good defense. They're on the road. They just won a big game. Could this be a trap game for the Niners?
No. What?
Could it be a trap game for the Niners?
A trap game for the Niners?
Could
Ray,
it be?
This spread before the Dallas game was like 2 points, and now it's all the way up to like 11.5. There's no way this is a trap game. They're going to annihilate.
Do they cover?
Yeah, I think they cover. Honestly, the only reason why they wouldn't cover, and this is the only note I have in this game, Ray. We talk about WAR all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Darnold right now, of quarterbacks who played 3 or more games, he has the lowest WAR per game in the NFL. Sam Darnold, lowest quarterback WAR in the NFL.
Well, Sam Darnold ain't playing shit.
Hey, he's got a lower WAR than your boy Cooper Rush, who's also played in 3 games this season because, well, Dak Prescott, talk about bad WAR quarterbacks, he's down there. Is Brock Purdy going to play more than a half in this game? This is my biggest problem, is if you want to bet this game, you should probably bet the first half spread. And the other factor, DTR is not playing in this game, so you're not going to get like a 10 turnover game by DTR.
I'll put $100 on it right now. He plays more than a half. You want to put $100 on it right now?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay,
I'm not saying he's going to play more than a half.
Well,
but if he's pulled like mid-third quarter, I wouldn't be shocked either.
I don't know if he's pulled mid-third quarter, but...
He was pulled in the 4th quarter against your Cowboys. He barely played the 4th quarter against the Cowboys on national television.
I guarantee somehow Cleveland will play better than Dallas did. Somehow they will show up more than the Dallas Cowboys did. Guarantee you, Jay. But let's talk about this Deshaun Watson thing real quick. So,
oh, my goodness.
He's cleared medically, yet it's a pain. What's the deal with him and why isn't he playing?
Because he's soft, Ray. Because he's soft. This is ridiculous. You have David Njoku going out there has an entire face, body, arms burnt to a crisp. And he's posting this stuff on social media.
Smiling.
And Deshaun Watson is hiding in the shadows, not talking about it, not saying anything. His teammates are outside practicing in the cold. What's this guy doing? Sitting indoors, probably in the medical room, getting a massage for nothing. He's not going to play. You know why he's not playing, Ray? Because the Niners would beat his ass. That's why he's not going to play in this game. It just screams like a guy who doesn't want to play because he doesn't want to deal with the Niners. And that's just what it seems like right now. And this is a guy who missed week 4, had a bye in week 5, and still you can't even return to practice. Like, come on, man. What are we doing?
What do you think about this deal? How is this going to go down for Cleveland? The largest guaranteed contract in NFL history, quarterback. He's going to be locked into place for. Well, where's his dynasty value at right now? And what do you? I traded away Watson. I've traded away every Watson share that I have. This seems like we gave him a lot of excuses and passes. You know, he's got to knock the rust off. He hasn't played in a year and a half.
Jay, we talked about it every week.
Is he just
we
cooked?
Talked about it last year.
Is he just cooked? Like, do you even want him? Do you even want him on your dynasty teams, man? Outside of the insulation you get by him being locked into being the starter because of his contract, why do you even want Deshaun Watson?
You shouldn't. If we're being 100% honest, you shouldn't. You know, you talk about his value, Ray. He is below Bryce Young, below Jared Goff, below Jordan Love right now on KTC. He's QB 17. The only quarterback he's ahead of that he probably shouldn't be in terms of like just very simple value is Dak Prescott. But Dak Prescott has also been terrible. So I'm not really shocked why he is also falling behind him. Kirk Cousins or Deshaun Watson, Ray?
Oh, Kirk Cousins.
Sam Howell or Deshaun Watson? Because now it gets really gross. You're just taking the contract basically at this point for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, that is really it. That is the only reason you would take
have
Deshaun
Geno,
Watson.
Daniel Jones, Kenny Pickett, but I think an interesting one, and I think I may go Matthew Stafford over Deshaun Watson.
For this season, no doubt. For this season
for sure. But maybe
doubt,
if you're playing in a 2-year window even, would you go Matthew Stafford over Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, if you told me Stafford's going to be back next year, even if you said, I don't know if he's going to be on the Rams, Ray, but Stafford's playing NFL football next year, yeah, I would take Matt Stafford over Deshaun Watson. I want nothing to do with Watson. This whole, you're ready to play, you're medically cleared, but you can't get out there. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that happen. Like, the more I think about this, they're cleared to go, and then the player just saying, I'm not ready. Somebody said it in the chat. Is this Kawhi Leonard? Is this a Deshaun, the new Kawhi?
It's funny. What in my head, you know where I go to when I think about Deshaun Watson? I go to Tiger Woods. Right? Like most dominant athlete of all time.
I got to get you off of the screen for there. You want to laugh at the other thing, and then you bring up freaking Deshaun Watson and Tiger Woods' name in the same sentence. Get the hell out of here with that one, man. New Orleans Saints and the Houston Texans. Let's talk about this one. Derek Carr and CJ Stroud facing off, Jay. We can put you back on the screen now. The blasphemy to even say those two names in the same sentence.
Just the loss of their power.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Stop trying to explain it away. Get back off of the screen. So my top storyline in this game for me, JRich, is trying to figure out, and I want to see, is Nico Collins for real? Like, this is a player that is scoring a massive amount of fantasy points. His Trinity score is very high. He's continued to be fed like a number one, but every time he goes up against a top cornerback, he kind of no-shows. Last week versus A.J. Terrell, didn't get anything going, and this week he gets Marshawn Lattimore. So for me, what I'm looking forward to in this game is, can C.J. Stroud feed and continue to keep Nico Collins relevant, especially you said Tank Dell unlikely to play this week. They're going to need Nico in this one. They're going to need Nico Collins. So coming out of this game, all eyes for me are on C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins. This combination right here, Nico's got the size, 6'3", 6'4", 215 pounds. He's got the size to be a number one, but I'm still a little skeptical, Jay, if Houston truly wants to sort of build this passing attack around Nico Collins and add players around him, or is Nico Collins more the complementary receiver and they'll go get a proper alpha-type wide receiver next year via free agency or the draft?
Yeah, that's a big conversation, and something that I was thinking about a lot. I own a lot of Nico kind of randomly, just a guy that I thought could be something after drafting Stroud. Traded away a share a few weeks ago for Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. I traded Stroud away as well in that trade. But, you talk about Nico and can he be the one? It's funny, you talk about the matchup. It's basically like talking about Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore again, right? It's not going to be as serious. I don't think that Marshawn's going to travel with Nico per se.
Right. Nah,
but
I don't think.
It's interesting, right? The big thing for me with this matchup is that Marcus May is back. So he had a DUI in 2021, Ray, and was suspended for 2 games by the NFL for that DUI, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why he's getting suspended in 2023 for something that happened in 2021. But he is back, and he's a big key to their defense. Obviously, Lattimore will be a big factor as well. I'm not so sure if Nico's going to get it done, but I think to your point, he will be peppered with targets. I'm more so worried about Stroud. His outlook doesn't look so good. And if you do listen to my podcast, I talk about why and kind of the range of outcomes for Stroud right now. It doesn't look great. Again, against a great defense, good pass rush, great against the tight end. So Dalton Schultz probably going to be taken out of this game as well. It really is all on Nico, and if they can get anything going in the running game, this Saints defense did.
Dameon Pierce is getting fed carries. He's getting fed, but the offensive line is pretty bad. So it's very inefficient.
But Tunsil is back at practice, which is good.
That is a good thing. But he's getting his 20 carries a game. So you've got to be encouraged by the volume that Dameon Pierce is getting, just not getting it done production-wise. So hopefully that can happen this week. You look on the other side of the ball, Jay, Alvin Kamara being fed like the proper bell cow that he is. I know a lot of people were excited and enthusiastic about Kendre Miller. I believe he had 12 touches, 90 yards last game.
He was good.
All of that came after they yanked everybody versus the Patriots. He didn't get any kind of meaningful touches during the course of the flow of the actual game. But from the New Orleans Saints side, you're firing up Olave. Are you starting Michael Thomas? Are you firing up, Alvin Kamara's a go? What are you looking at? What's the face for?
Alvin Kamara, you got to start.
Come on, man.
Well, Ray, it's Derek Carr, man. Derek Carr is just terrible. Like, there's no way to slice it at this point. Derek Carr is so bad. You looked at the game last week. That is not a get right. Like, he did not even play that well in that game. The Patriots are just god-awful. We all know this. They're going to get slapped probably by the Raiders, and we can touch on that game in a little bit. But when you talk about Derek Carr, he is so bad, he's almost unstartable in fantasy football right now. When you talk about WAR, Ray, he has a worse wins above replacement than Zach Wilson right now. Oof. Zach Wilson is terrible. We know this. But when you are worse than Zach Wilson at providing wins for fantasy rosters, you cannot start Derek Carr. And so when you have a player who's that bad and isn't great under pressure, Houston is 7th in the NFL in pressure rate between the Lions and the Commanders. And the Lions and the Commanders are 2 teams that we both really like their defensive lines and trust them to get pressure. So when you have a team like Houston who can generate pressure at the level of those teams, you're like, oh, it could be a tough day for Derek Carr. And then you look at the Patriots, Ray, 31st in pressure rate. 31st in the NFL. They're second last. The New England Patriots can't even generate pressure. And that's one of the reasons why Carr was able to have success last week. So I'm definitely concerned about Carr. And then conversely, like you talked about with the weapons, I think you have to start Olave full participant at practice. I think there could be opportunity for Michael Thomas. But with Carr being so bad, is there really a lot of upside for these players this week against a defense that I do really like? And I think D'Amico Ryans will scheme a great game plan for the Saints this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Houston is at home. They are filling out the stadium. NRG be pumping. So this is going to be a good game. This is going to be a tough test for C.J. Stroud, but he's already valued as the QB6 on Keep Trade Cut. Is that true? Is he QB6, Jay?
That is true, yeah. I don't mean to disrespect C.J. Stroud with the what, but yeah, he's ahead of Lamar Jackson right now. He's only behind Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and the big 3.
Man, all right, let's move on to the next matchup, Jay, and talk about another rookie quarterback, and we touched on him earlier in the show. The Carolina Panthers traveling to Miami for a beatdown. You know what's going to happen.
Legit, yeah.
They are traveling for a beatdown. At least it's on the same coastline over there on the east. But the Carolina Panthers visiting the Miami Dolphins. We all know that our beloved Prince, Devon Achane, is not going to play in this game, headed to IR with a knee injury. Very, very vague on what it actually is. There's a lot of speculation.
We have got nothing, right?
A lot of speculation. A lot of Twitter doctors evaluating them from their MacBook Pro 1,000 miles away, and it's meniscus, it's MCL, it's a bone bruise. No clue what this is. Let me just ask you: do you think this is going to give more credits or more substance, foundation support to the you can't draft these small running backs? These small running backs always get hurt. Look at him. He smashed for a couple of weeks, and because he's only 188 pounds, do you think this is going to give more of that fuel to that fire of the small running back can't last in the NFL? And if you do feel that way, how are you feeling about Achane right now? Would you hold him, keep him, trade him, buy him? What are you thinking?
So I think it definitely adds fuel to the fire, right? He only played like 3 games and now, or 4 games, I think, and now he's hurt. So you look at this situation and kind of what he's done. He's been phenomenal. I mean, every week his yards per carry somehow continues to go up. But when he's hurt, obviously not on the field. Now, I'm not here to speak on the value too much because I don't actually have any Achane shares. I wasn't fortunate to get any. But, you know, the problem is that people value him so high right now. He's like running back 4 in KTC, and you're just like, how much higher is this guy really going to go? But he's young, he's talented. But after that, I mean, what are you really going to do? He's behind Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, and Breece Hall. He's ahead of Jonathan Taylor, right? Like,
here goes one right here. Look at this.
Point,
Xavier said he traded Achane and a late second for JT once he went to IR. So he gave up Achane and a second for JT. What would you rather have? JT, right?
I think I'd rather have JT. Yeah. Give me the and this kind of like, honestly, it's another instance where you look at Jahmyr Gibbs and you're like, he's so talented, but he can only handle so much work. Oh, Dave Montgomery can't get all these carries, right? Yeah. He's not a workhorse. He's not going to lose touch. He's not going to take these touches away from Jahmyr Gibbs. Sometimes just give me the big, strong back that can handle the workload in the NFL. And we know that with the JT, with the CMC, with the Breece Hall, even ETN, Kenneth Walker, like those guys have been handling a lot of carries in the NFL so far. We'll get into ETN as well. So for me, in a lot of ways, I would trade Achane for that because I think that you're guaranteed touches. But if you want to just shoot for the moon, man, he's the guy to do it. You nailed that take on the head. If he went to Miami, it would put everyone's process to the test, and it still does. Like I don't know how you feel about him, but I don't know how to value him because he's just so good on so limited touches. You're like, the efficiency can't continue, but where is that median? Like, where is that true value? It's so difficult to figure out.
Yeah, it's a tough one to figure out because as long as that scheme is alive, as long as they've got Tyreek Hill and Tua and McDaniels and Waddle, you can't stack the box. And then, looking at this game with no Achane, Raheem Mostert time, right? I hear that Jeff Wilson is coming back, but then I also heard he's dealing with another injury after returning from a finger. And I think it was a finger and a groin injury that he had, and now he's dealing with something else. So is it just wheels up Raheem Mostert? And what do you think about Salvon Ahmed or Chris Brooks in that backfield?
Yeah, didn't even know who Chris Brooks was. See you guys picking him up off waivers shows how tapped in I am. But I think he's going to play, right? Ahmed's been banged up as well. We know that Mostert will see a lot of carries, but as you mentioned, we don't expect this game to last beyond the second quarter. So you're probably going to see Chris Brooks or Frank whatever just get in the game. Maybe they'll give the fullback some carries. Yeah, people are talking about the picture. People who are listening, Ray threw up a ridiculous picture of Raheem Mostert, and I'm like, I legit started laughing in the middle of your little spiel there about Mostert because he just looks so stupid. But I think we see a bit of everybody in this game. Am I concerned about Waddle probably in this game? A little bit. How much is Tyreek Hill really going to have to do against the Panthers? He can do it in a half, so I'm not too concerned. But yeah, it's probably just Mostert and Tyreek Hill. And then I think my question for you, Ray, is how do you feel about starting Tua? Do you think he's going to even have a good game in this one?
Dude, what are you talking about?
I don't know, man. Is he going to have a good game, or is he just going to hand the ball off 50 times?
Is Tua going to have a good game? What are you talking about? Yes, he's going to have a good game. The Panthers stink, man. He's going to have a very good game. From the Carolina side of the ball, Jay, realistically, the only player that I want to start from this game is the oldest damn player, and that's doggone Adam Thielen. That's all I want to start is Adam Thielen. Old man Thielen.
He's been great, man.
He's been phenomenal. Being fed. He is the new Tyler Lockett. He catches it, he is not going to take a hit. He's going to go down or get out of bounds, but damn, Bryce Young's going to throw it to him 12 times a game. Sign me up for some old man Thielen. That's about the only Carolina Panther I have any interest in starting. I know people are asking about Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders, Jonathan Mingo, Hayden. I don't want to start any of them. None of them, Jay. None. And Miami's defense isn't even that good. Now, this ultimately means there's going to be multiple players that put up some points, but the only one that I'm just like, you have to start from Carolina is Adam Thielen. What say you?
Yeah, man, you hit the nail on the head. Wide receiver 11 right now per DK's ranks. I pull all the props for DK, the touchdowns, the receptions, the yards. He's right in between Zay Flowers and DK Metcalf right now at wide receiver 11, looking at around 6 receptions, 60 yards, slightly less than half a chance of a touchdown. Looking like a great spot for Thielen yet again. As you mentioned, the volume is just always there for this guy. Garbage time galore for the Panthers. He just continue to run Adam Thielen out there, get him the ball, and he's been great for fantasy so far this season.
Jay, who has not been great for fantasy are the Tennessee Titans. They have not been great for fantasy at all. Derrick Henry's had some games here and there.
Talk about it?
They've had some games here and there. DeAndre Hopkins playing well. Tajay Spears is looking like a young rookie with some promise. But I'm looking at the Baltimore Ravens in this one, Jay. And honestly, all eyes for me are on this man right here, number 8, Lamar Jackson. How they lost that game versus Pittsburgh still blows my mind. Lamar Jackson has shown flashes of greatness this year, and then flashes of just like, what the hell are you doing, Lamar? So in this matchup versus Tennessee, and I know that Tennessee's vaunted run defense is always talked about. This game is in London. I want to see if Lamar can get his shit together, man. He's had some up and down games, and what's unfortunate is, and I'm going to make a couple of excuses for him, weaponry is all over the place. It's hurt. It's up and down. He's banged up offensive line. Again, another year. I believe this is the 3rd year in a row, Jay, that he's gone into the season without his starting running back. You know, Dobbins is out.
Might as well say every year, right?
Every year, no running back. Receivers, Odell Beckham in and out of the lineups. Bateman not doing anything. Everyone wants to talk about Baltimore as a true contender out of the AFC, and they've yet to put together a complete game, in my opinion. Even starting the season off against Houston, they were rocky in that matchup. So for me, the biggest fantasy storyline coming out of this one is Lamar. I think people are kind of on tilt with Lamar a little bit, Jay. I think there's a lot of people in the dynasty space that kind of want to get out of Lamar. They like him. Mm-hmm. They would love to have him, but if they can trade him for a haul, which you cannot, they would not mind getting off of Lamar Jackson. So just what do you think? For you, I know your top storyline out of this one is a little different than mine, but give me your thoughts on Lamar, his performance, and what needs to happen in this game for people to be like, all right, that's the Lamar Jackson that we know.
I think that his receivers need to catch the ball. I think that's the reality of the situation. You know, PFF put it out. He had the highest passing grade in the entire season this week, and they lost the game. And it's not because Lamar Jackson played bad. He made a ton of phenomenal plays. Some were caught, and a lot of big plays weren't. Bateman dropping touchdowns. Zay Flowers dropping passes. The pick that he threw was awful. But in some ways, Ray, I do kind of blame Todd Monken too. A goal line fade in general is not a very good play in the NFL. There's plenty of other ways to get more creative at the goal line. So I do think it's a little unfair, and I've been critical of Lamar Jackson plenty of times. He still fumbles late in games at times. TJ Watt had a phenomenal sack on him to end the game. Like, there's a lot of plays that Pittsburgh still had to make to win the game, not to mention Marlon Humphrey giving George Pickens the lane to the end zone. That all these things are a factor. But yeah, we talked about on Monday, like, the Ravens totally blew this game. But when you really look at Lamar's performance, and a lot of people broke this down throughout the week, he did play very, very well. And I think it was Scott Barrett who put out the tweet that he would have had 2 touchdowns and 378 passing yards.
I don't want to hear about no woulda. I don't want to hear. We're not doing that because we don't do that for anybody else. We don't do the woulda, coulda, shouldas for anybody else. Anytime we've done that, it doesn't matter. Okay, but doesn't matter.
It's a discrepancy of like 150 yards and doesn't include Yak. And these aren't his passes that he's dropping. He's still getting the ball on target.
Look, wait, hold on. First of all, we've acknowledged that Zay Flowers and company were dropping the damn ball left and right. But to sit here and say that he's gone out there and played MVP level football, he has not consistently. He hasn't. It's not no hate on Lamar.
But last game he was good is what I'm saying. Not the season's been rocky for the Ravens.
There's no hate on Lamar.
Last week he was pretty good. Like, I don't know. He could have done things better.
The Ravens,
for sure.
I said I don't know how the Ravens lost that game versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lamar has been up and down. He's had moments this season. I don't know why that's no hate. I'm just saying, like, he's fumbling the ball. He's taking sacks, not throwing the ball away. Get the ball out of your hands. And yes, your receivers and pass catchers need to step up and help your quarterback out. But you're the quarterback. It starts with you. And that's everybody. That's Dak Prescott. That's Trevor Lawrence. We say this about any quarterback. When Josh Allen was out there, not getting the ball to Stephon Diggs, taking sacks, making bad throws, we come on here and we say, Hey, we know that other things need to happen around him, but it starts with the quarterback. There's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
No one's saying Lamar's bad. No one said
But
Lamar's bad.
he also bails them out constantly. And his team is doing him no favors right now, and it really saw that happen last week.
Joe.
And that's why it sucks.
Yes, sir, it does. And from the Titans
I do think
side
Lamar's
of the
a little underrated. right now.
well, CJ Stroud over him, right? I don't agree with that either. But let's talk about Tennessee.
So my big storyline, right, really stems around the running backs, Derrick Henry, Tajay Spears. I think people don't even realize Tajay Spears has more games where he's played 50% of snaps than Derrick Henry on the season. He's played 50% of snaps in 4 of the 5 games. And in my opinion, this is an opportunity where he could definitely get the ball more. The Ravens are going to sell out to stop the run and Derrick Henry. And there could be opportunities in the passing game. Tajay Spears feels like his workload is increasing week after week, continues to stack good performances over and over, had a career high 12 opportunities, his first touchdown. And I think it was close to the most yards he's had all year long. I think this is a great opportunity for Spears in this game. Like I mentioned, I think Baltimore will sell out much like Cleveland did to stop Derrick Henry. And that was a game where Tajay Spears got it in the game a lot more. So for me, I think it is an opportunity for Tajay Spears to really cement himself in this offense more. And, we talk about Treylon Burks not being involved, Chig not doing a whole lot. They need to get the ball out of Tannehill's hands so quickly. Tajay could be the way they do that and provide a spark to this offense.
He's looked good. He's looked good every time he's gotten some run, but the problem is Derrick Henry's going to get more run than anybody, even when he plays similar snaps shared than Tajay Spears. You're just going to hand him the ball. And Henry's looked good. Once he gets into space, he looks just like Derrick Henry. The problem is the Titans really don't have anybody outside except for DeAndre Hopkins. He's the only receiver that you can consistently count on. It was good to see Chig Okonkwo get involved in the passing attack last week. How much of that am I expecting with Ryan Tannehill early game in London? I don't know. We will see. We will see early in the morning. But this is one where I do think that the Tennessee Titans versus the Ravens should be a good game. Excited for this one. Should be a good defensive matchup. And we'll see how this one all plays out.
Would you start Zay Flowers in this matchup? That's my question for you. Okay.
Yes, I would start Zay Flowers. Let's talk about Minnesota and Chicago. For me, it's Justin Fields. Can he continue to dominate? It's pretty simple. Can Justin Fields continue to dominate? This Vikings defense, this Vikings team, I'm very curious to see how they come out. When you lose your heart and soul of the team, not just offensively, he is the face of the Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson. Let's see how all of these guys respond this week. The running game with Madison, the quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Also, up and down this year. A lot of people were dependent on Kirk Cousins as even a late round QB1. Like, I'll just draft him as my QB1. I'm not going to spend a lot of capital. I'm going to get old man Kirk, and we're just going to ride this thing out. And the magic hasn't quite been there, even though he leads the league in touchdown passes, or he led the league in touchdown passes.
Yeah.
What's he going to do now with no Justin Jefferson? Everybody's excited about Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne. Now what happens with no Jets? How does this team come out versus a hot Chicago Bears team? And you could say, well, they beat up on the Commanders and they've beaten up on bad teams, or Justin Fields is doing this versus some bad teams. But this is a game that on the road, divisional game, both of these teams need to have it, right? You want to win your division. You want to beat the teams that you face twice a season. So here we go. Minnesota at Chicago. For me, Justin Fields, can he continue to be dominant and increase his dynasty value? Because right now, I think it's still kind of, people are very nervous about him. Yeah, people are still very nervous about him despite the points that he's putting up. What about you, Jay? Where are you at?
So I'm with you. I think that Fields will continue to dominate. Definitely not worried about him. I was kind of shocked because yesterday when I was talking about quarterbacks, Brock Purdy was behind him, but now Brock Purdy is past Justin Fields, what I think would be a very interesting conversation about whether you want Brock Purdy or Justin Fields. But talking about this game, it stems on Kirk Cousins. How is he going to play without Jefferson? Because I think we all know Jefferson commands a ton of attention, takes a lot of coverage away from Hawkinson, Addison, KJ Osborne, right? And so how does that factor in? How do defenses play against the Vikings now? Because they don't have to deal with Jefferson. My biggest story, obviously, is Jordan Addison. Kevin O'Connell was quoted by saying, he was one of my favorite players I evaluated in the draft. My expectation is that we hit the gas with Jordan this week. And that was, he said it's not a pun, but he also referenced Addison's speeding ticket in the offseason when he talked about hitting the gas with Addison. He's coming off a career high 75% snap share and 9 targets. I hope he steps in for JJ this week, but I think it'll be a big week for for Addison and for Hawkinson. Both of them should see a ton of targets. I hope the Vikings just try to throw the ball like crazy. You know, I'm sure Cam Akers will get the ball a little bit. Of course, Madison will be involved, but I hope they just funnel targets to Jordan Addison and to TJ Hawkinson. And I think the biggest question for a lot of people is, would you consider starting KJ Osborne this week? Because the Bears defense isn't good, and I think we should see an uptick in targets for KJ this week as well.
I would prefer not to, but if you're in a situation where you have no choice, this is a good defense to do it against. Chicago's defense is not very good against the pass, so if you want to play the game script, if you want to play the defensive and offensive efficiency game or offensive production game, this would be the matchup to fire him up against on the road. I mean, KJ Osborne's not a bad player. He's not a bad player. He's not as good as Justin Jefferson.
Isn't he like one of the least
Addison.
efficient receivers in the league or something? There's like that stat that he's like really inefficient.
When he's out there and he gets thrown the ball, somehow KJ Osborne finds the end zone for the Minnesota Vikings. Gavin says if Vikings lose 3 to 4 games that Jefferson misses, what's the incentive for him coming back this season until he signs an extension?
0. Easy. And I think, I forget the games they're playing. One of the games is the Niners. Oh, it's this game against the Bears. Then they play the Packers. Okay. And then they play the Niners is the other game before the deadline.
But he's definitely out for at least
definitely
4
out
games,
for one
so
more. I don't know what the fourth game is, but they could lose all 3 of those games easily.
And what's their record right now? How many do they have? 2 wins?
Battle of 1 and 4 teams right now. The third and fourth overall picks on the line.
So you're talking about if they lose these 3 games, they're 1 and 7 when Jefferson comes back.
Yeah, well, that's at the deadline, and then they could lose another one, right? So they could be 1 and 8.
Well, they're not going to trade Jefferson, are they? That's not.
No. This is more the trading Kirk conversation. But to your point, this would put them. I don't know if it would put them at 2, but it would at least put them ahead of Chicago at 3 in the draft.
There you go.
So then you're really in Caleb Williams' range, right? Then it's like, oh my God, we better do something about this.
Caleb and Justin Jefferson, wouldn't that be a sight? Wouldn't that be a sight?
And did you see the someone? I think it was.
Addison.
But did you see? I think it was Sam from PFF tweeted out the video of Sean Payton talking about how the NFL is going to adopt a lottery system, probably in the aftermath to the Caleb Williams tanking sweepstakes, and Denver.
I did not see
the
that.
second. Yeah, so there's a video of him on Colin Cowherd's show on The Herd, and he's talking about Caleb Williams and how he's a generational prospect, potentially could be better than Patrick Mahomes, or at least a better prospect than Patrick Mahomes. I think we all would admit that. For people who are tapped into DD really know that.
Yes, as a prospect, yes.
But it's hilarious that Sean Payton's out here saying, oh, they're going to change to a lottery system because, you know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in whatever year it was tanked for Jameis Winston and they benched all the starters in the first half and no one really noticed it because it was a 1 o'clock game and it was in Tampa Bay and no one really cared. But now we're tanking for Caleb Williams, and when it comes down to week 14, week 15, our team's going to start intentionally tanking for Caleb to the point where in a few years down the line, we're going to have to go to a lottery system. I'll send you the video. It's hilarious to see him talk about it, and now they're right in line for the number 1 overall pick.
Of course, Sean Payton, right? Broncos in line for the number 1 pick, Jay. Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Seahawks and Bengals. I see you with the JSN / Percy Harvin custom special on right there. Seattle Seahawks jersey. For me, it is number 11 though, Jay. It's JSN. I want to see, coming off of this bye,
anything.
Can Seattle get him going? Can they get him some routes? Can they target him? Can he get involved in this offense, Jay? Because right now, it's a lot of Tyler Lockett, a lot of DK Metcalf, and primarily Kenneth Walker smashing the ball down people's throats out of the backfield, who has been incredible to start this season. All that panic and fear about him losing his job to Zach Charbonnet, quite overblown. But it's JSN, Jay, and this is a player that I'll tell you right now, the worst spot to have drafted him is an underdog because his ADP was just creeping up. By the end of that, this dude was 5th round pick in underdog drafts.
Insane.
And he's giving you absolutely nothing. Nothing, Jay. And I don't blame JSN. I don't think it's a JSN stinks type of problem. He's a rookie wide receiver. And to think that he would come in and leapfrog Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf off the rip, probably a little ambitious by the fantasy community, out over our skis on that one. But I think he's a talented player. So I want to see if Seattle can get him going coming off of the bye. What do you think? Do you think that that's even a possibility? And I know you got some stats out there on Geno Smith. So hit us with how old Mr. I didn't write back is playing this year, and give us some data to see if this is a realistic outcome this week.
All right, so let's talk about Geno Smith and how bad he's been to start the year. Talking about WAR, he's basically the WAR equivalent right now of Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think nobody in their right mind wants to start Jimmy Garoppolo. And right now, you talk about he's the only quarterback's worse than him. We talked about how bad some of the other quarterbacks were, but Mac Jones is worse than him. Kenny Pickett, Ryan Tannehill, Zach Wilson. You don't want to start those guys anyway. So if you're barely better than those guys, there's no reason for me to start you. He has 2 games right under 120 passing yards, only 5 touchdowns on the season. It's funny because I will make the same excuse for Matthew Stafford, but Matthew Stafford has 2 competent players, 2 players that are ranked in DK's top 5 this week, and he is going to throw the ball. You can't really make the same case, especially with, as you mentioned, how Kenneth Walker is playing this season. So when there's already low volume, and if you really take out that Detroit game, it doesn't look so great for Geno right now. The Detroit game, he was great. Outside of that, he's been pretty bad. Against the Rams, he was bad. And last week, not last week, they're on bye, but the previous week in week 4, he was bad as well. Under 120 passing yards. That's just not going to work, right? Yeah. That's not going to work. And yeah, it was against the Giants, and the game was terrible. But, we got to see something from Geno to believe that he can support even 2 pass catchers.
14
he's not supporting
points a game. 14 and a half fantasy points per game. That's QB so 22. 22 on the season, man.
He's not supporting Lockett even. He's barely supporting DK. He's not supporting Lockett. And Ray, talking about JSN, here's the list of rookies with more receiving yards than Jackson Smith and Jigba. Tajay Spears, Devon Achane, Jahmyr Gibbs, Dontavian Wicks, Jalen Hyatt, Jonathan Mingo, Dalton Kincaid, Demario Douglas, Luke Musgrave, Jaden Reed, and then obviously only gets better from that. Rashee Rice, Marvin Mims, Jordan Addison, Michael Wilson, Josh Downs, Sam Laporta, Zay Flowers, Tank Dell. And at number 1, 46 receptions, 572 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Puka
Nacua.
Puka. We got one right here from Tim. Traded Diggs away for JSN, an early 24 first and a late 24 first. I'm going to assume that you're a rebuilder. That's a good deal. It's a great deal. If you're
rebuilding,
Diggs, if you don't need, of course he didn't do this as trying to win and score points, man. You don't do that. He did not.
Some people are trying to buy low, right? Are you buying low on JSN right now? That's the question.
It's the leverage. There's no doubt in my mind. If I were not a competing team and I'm getting an early 24 first, a late 24 first, and JSN, absolutely. You get the points off your roster.
2 firsts for Diggs alone is probably worth it.
This is a great trade for you, Tim, especially, and I'm assuming just some dynasty common sense here is you are not trying to score points. You're trying to clear points off your roster.
He's 1 and 4.
Yeah, that's smart. Love you. That's it. You watch the show. You got it. Good stuff right there, man. Good stuff right there. Jay, what's your storyline from this one?
So it was Geno Smith, right? I wanted to talk about Geno Smith and how bad he's been. There is also the factor of T. Higgins. We talked about him in the news section. Mm-hmm. He may be available in this game. Not a whole lot to say about the Bengals. The Bengals are going to be good. We're starting Chase. We're starting Burrow now. I think I'm starting Mixon this week. I really like his chances to score a touchdown. But yeah, I think the biggest problem is, can you start JSN and Lockett? I would not. I think you can barely start Metcalf.
Jimbo
as far as I'm concerned.
says,
what's Jimbo saying?
Bingo over JSN. Yikes.
The stats are very, very striking right now.
It's a big no. That's a big no for me. That's a big no for me. And it's all based on perceived value. Their Trinity scores are quite even, yet Jonathan Mingo is the lowest valued rookie wide receiver to have even received that has earned 15 targets. He is the lowest graded wide receiver as far as value on KTC. People don't like him. No way. Even if JSN isn't producing, this is dynasty, you use that name to buy, right? You saw the trade that we just saw. He was able to get a Stephon Diggs, trade away a Stephon Diggs for JSN and 2 firsts. He wouldn't have done that for Jonathan Mingo and 2 firsts. He would not have done it. Probably the first may have even been worth it, but if Mingo was in that deal, he's like, nah, I'm good on that one. It's just the value.
Ray,
it's all the value.
Downs or JSN? Brock is asking the question. Josh Downs or JSN? Mr. Trinity thumbnail, Ray, you could just slide out of the way there, and you can see some Josh Downs in the background.
Downs is balling. I mean, that's who you would rather want right now. There's no doubt about it. But again, it's the name of the game. JSN goes out there and gets 6 catches for 42 yards, and people are right back in. There, I knew it. Coming out of the bye, they got him more involved. It's the value game. Has nothing to do with the production. In today's dynasty game, it's perception. Perception versus reality. And a lot of times in life, people's perception is their form of reality, and the perception is JSN is still way better than all those other guys. He's just not getting the ball. Whether that's true or not, that is the perception of a lot of people with Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jay.
Yep.
Let's go to that game you were just talking about. Oh, Cincinnati. Yeah, we barely even touched on it. Jamar Chase is locked and loaded. Joe Burrow, I saw him practicing without the leg sleeve.
He said actually best he's felt since training camp was the other big quote from him.
Cincinnati's getting it going. Cincinnati's getting it going, and this is the Bengals team that we were looking to see to start the season. So it's good to see them clicking. Hopefully we get T. Higgins back. You know who I've been waiting to see for Cincinnati this year that we were drafting all throughout the offseason, an underdog? He's done nothing. Think he's been hurt. Irv Smith. Where the hell is Irv Smith at? When is he going to get back on the field, damn it? I have so much damn Irv Smith and underdog. Where is he even at? Like, is he playing this year?
I love Irv Smith, the player who is too unathletic to play wide receiver, so he plays tight end, even though he's like 6'2", 225 pounds. Old Irv Smith. Oh, people are always in on Irv Smith. I never really understood it.
The Bengals were pumping him up, man. So people started to draft him an underdog. I legitimately don't even know if he's played this year. I legitimately don't know. Joe said Joe Burrow doing cartwheels at practice. Now fire him up with confidence. Yeah, if you didn't need any other thing, just straight cartwheels, Joe. And then they're saying Brevin
Did you know
Jordan
that
2.0.
Irv Smith has 9 targets?
I did not
this
know
season.
that. Has he caught any of them?
He's got 5 of them. Yeah,
Okay.
He didn't see any targets against Arizona though. So
All right, there it is. Irv Smith.
Good time to not get any targets.
Yeah, but back to the Seattle thing, the DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett thing. Ultimately, if Geno Smith, and yes, we know Abe Lucas and Charles Cross have been injured, but if Geno Smith can't get it going, I don't see a world in which any of those three are truly, truly, truly relevant. Yes, DK and Lockett can get you 14 points, and maybe on a spike week they can blow up, but the consistency that we need to see, O-line is banged up.
Very lucky. Very lucky. He's been 6 receptions and 75 yards, I believe is the stat, or a touchdown. 10-plus fantasy points every single week, but only because he scored a touchdown the 2 weeks. He only had like 3 catches for 30 yards.
Yeah, the touchdown.
So it's been tough for DK. It's literally been saved by the touchdown a couple weeks. Other weeks he's been all right, though. Yeah,
they're grinding it out with Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker's stud right now. The Gardner Minshew-led Colts, little revenge game for Gardner Minshew, baby. Gardner Minshew going to face those Jacksonville Jaguars. And Jacksonville coming off of a big win last week. Travis Etienne, my guy this week. Big storyline is him. He is running like a bell cow. He is running like a madman right now. Can he continue? Can he continue against Zaire Franklin and this Indianapolis Colts defense that's starting to get some confidence? They're 3-2. This was a team that people thought would be 0-whatever with Anthony Richardson at the helm, and they're 3-2. Zach Moss, he didn't play in week 1, and he's been awesome ever since. Jonathan Taylor is back. We talked about the connection of Josh Downs with Gardner Minshew. This should be a good game. I'm pretty interested. I'm excited for this one. Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, can Trevor Lawrence keep it going? There's good players in this game. I want to watch Jonathan Taylor. I want to see ETN. Very curious of the distribution of targets between Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, and Calvin Ridley. And again, I want to see Jonathan Taylor. And I want to see Zach Moss. How does Zach Moss factor into this one? And could this potentially be one of those final weeks that you can get off Zach Moss for a second, right? People, maybe you could trade him. If he goes out there and he doesn't play, then the Zach Moss shares and the Zach Moss love goes away. Everything back to Jonathan Taylor. We've talked about it. I'm not going to say it's a committee, but I don't think Zach Moss is going to go to the bench. And
you said it last week. I asked you this question.
I don't think Zach Moss is going to the bench. I don't think Zach Moss is going to the bench. Jay, what do you think?
I was the one that said, well, are you sure that JT's going to get a ton of work?
Well, that was
he hasn't played.
Was last week, Jordan.
I know, but you're the one that said, oh, it's Jonathan Taylor. It's the contract. He's got to play. I mean, it's Jonathan Taylor. He's going to be ready to play. I mean, I know he hasn't been in practice. Money solves all problems. Zach Moss is good, Ray. So I think the big thing for me is I would be sitting Jonathan Taylor this week. I would be starting Zach Moss. I do not believe he's going to get the snaps. 15% last week. He did have seven opportunities in 10 snaps. I think he sees double-digit opportunities, double-digit touches, but I don't know if I would start him this week. He could score. He could get in the end zone, but the big factor, Ray, that no one outside of like very sharp and I guess casual bettors to some degree are talking about, Jags traveling from London without a bye. You don't ever see that happen. I think this is the first time this has ever happened on their schedule to be traveling back from London and play the next week without a bye. So people are wondering how is this going to affect them as well. Yes, they do it all the time, but it's not something you see happen. And this is after Buffalo traveled to London and looked like shit. So, coming back, it's the same type of story. How does Indy look? They obviously haven't been traveling. They're going to go to Jacksonville. Gardner Minshew, very motivated revenge game. And you have the Jags flying back from London, dealing with the time zone, the travel, all that stuff that go with it, not having the bye week like they usually do.
Brock said the Colts O-line is ranked 4th overall. Moss and JT, a great duo. Yeah, I mean, it's duo league right now. Colts can run on this team, just ran on Tennessee. Sure. Gavin said you're not going to feel good about Jonathan Taylor on your bench. Hell no, you don't bench him. You can't. Have to start JT, unfortunately. And then recovered Ridley Truther says, if Ridley ain't top 12 wide receiver, I'm becoming retired Ridley Truther. So there we go. And then Jimbo asks, Pittman or Ridley in this matchup? Rest of the season. Oh, rest of the season, not just this matchup. Pittman or Ridley?
Rest of season, I would probably take Ridley still.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
It's close, though. To credit to Pittman, this is a lot closer than people thought it would be coming into the year. And Pittman is definitely cementing himself as a mid wide receiver, too. And Ridley is kind of the same guy. Just, I think we all believe he has a slightly higher ceiling with Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback.
Everyone keeps saying the connection of Minshew and Pittman doesn't quite hit the same way as Anthony Richardson and Pittman. So
makes sense, right? Minshew was the backup playing with the rookie and Downs probably while Isaiah McKenzie was getting snaps. Now Downs has his leading role.
I guess for me, I bet on the volume, and the volume is probably going to be in Jacksonville's favor. So I would take Calvin Ridley over Michael Pittman for the rest of the season. If you're just asking me right now, I'm just going to bet on the volume of Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence. And I just need to see. I want to see how Minshew... Let's see how Minshew gets in a rhythm. And all reports are JRich is looking closer to the 8-week mark. And at that point, who knows
like the season, right?
Who knows if they roll him out there? So it's going to be interesting to see who Minshew continues that rhythm with as he gets consistent snaps at the quarterback spot. So where's the next game? Where are we going next?
Oh God, Ray. We have to go to Vegas to talk about New England versus your Raiders. In another disgusting matchup for these Patriots. Every week, it seems like they just get a gross game. They had the Saints last week, lost 34-0. But Ray, what's going to be their fate this week in the triple revenge game, quadruple revenge game? You have Josh McDaniels and Jimmy Garoppolo versus Bill Belichick, right? You got Jacoby Myers as well on the Raiders up against his former team where they kicked him out for Juju Smith-Schuster. You have Mac Jones on the hot seat facing off against his former coordinator and looking like garbage. There's talks, Ray, of Will Grier getting starts for the Patriots this season. Not even Bailey Zappi. The franchise, the fan base, they are done. They are sick time and tired of Bailey Zappi. They're sick of Zappi time. Zappi time is over. So it's Mac Jones or it's Will Grier at this point. Will Grier obviously wanted out of Dallas so we could have a chance to compete for a backup spot in the NFL. Dallas gave him that opportunity. He ended up in New England. So there will be an opportunity here, but revenge game narrative all over the place. Yeah. Biggest storyline for me really is Mac Jones. Is he even going to finish the season as the Patriots starter? I talked about on my pod, I would sell him for literally anything at this point. People said, oh, it's Matt Patricia. Well, what are you saying now? What? Oh, it was the DC as the coordinator. Well, maybe it's Bill Belichick. Maybe it's Bill O'Brien. Maybe it's Mac Jones. Maybe it's just too many negatives on this roster. This team is terrible. They should get absolutely waxed by the Raiders, in my opinion, because the Raiders actually have talent on their roster.
What is it? What is it with this?
I think there's too many factors to overcome.
For me, my big storyline is Bill Belichick because he has been billed, no pun intended, as one of the greatest coaches to ever step foot on a football field. And you can't take away any of the accolades, the Super Bowls, the awards that he's won. But you look at this team in the direction that they've gone since losing Tom Brady, and hell, you could go back to those times where they have Tom Brady. Just personnel moves, awful in the draft, bad personnel moves. What year was it where they signed Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, Kendrick
and then
Bourne,
Nelson Aguilar and Kelly Tribune.
There's a very good chance that Mac Jones is just an average quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah,
that's probably a very good chance. And it also could be true that the Patriots have no clue what the hell they're doing. As far as personnel, scheme, 100%. It's archaic, it's slow, they have nobody that can get open. It's just a bad environment for success, and I can see why people would get tired of a situation like this. It's not good, Jay. It's not good. How the hell do you pay Juju the same amount of money that Jacoby Myers got? And there's no doubt who the better wide receiver is. You go in the
Yep.
draft, you draft Tyquan Thornton in the second, you take Cole Strange in the first, and you really have shown no ability to develop a quarterback uh, outside of Brady. And you could say, oh, Matt Castle. Matt Castle came into the system. He played well for a year, got a deal in Tennessee, and stunk it up after that. Jimmy
Jimmy G,
Garoppolo.
right? He's the only one who's been like half decent in the NFL.
He's been fine. He's been fine. Jimmy Garoppolo's been fine. But has the game passed Bill by? Like, what do the Patriots, where do they go? Because I'll tell you right now, if the same coaching staff and schemes stay in place, let's just say they finish dead last and they get the number 1 pick. Do you even feel good about Caleb Williams in that situation?
No.
Drake May in a situation like that where there's an inability to identify talent, to scheme players. Like, do you feel good about any of those young quarterbacks going to New England?
Absolutely not. I think the reality is that New England's in a very tough spot because they have this, Hall of Fame coach. You can't just kick him out, right? Like, that's not going to happen. But he's also the GM, and he has fumbled on offense for years, going back to N'Keal Harry, going back to Sony Michel. These guys that he's drafting so high that are absolute busts. When Bill Belichick believes that N'Keal Harry is a better receiver than A.J. Brown and takes him ahead of him, yes, these things happen, but it always happens to the Patriots consistently. Yes, he can draft defense very well. Christian Gonzalez, absolute stud, but that was also a smash draft pick for a lot of people, not just Bill Belichick at that spot. So it's like he's done some good things on the other side of the ball and in the trenches at times, but in a lot of ways, he hasn't built an offense, whether it's through the draft or free agency, that can compete even in the worst divisions in football, not to mention playing in the AFC East with tons of talented quarterbacks and weapons galore. He has continued to try and build an offense, build a team the same way. And as you said, it's just not going to work.
This is it right here. It's the question that I always ask. Are you the truck or the trailer? And there's no doubt about it. Mac Jones is a trailer. He is not a truck. Trucks are Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. Those are trucks. Mac Jones is a trailer. So if you're a trailer, you got to have a dope truck around you to pull you around. And you look at all the other things in that offense, it's bad. Matt Patricia, Mac Jones, the weapons, the running game has done absolutely nothing this year. Just a bad situation in New England all the way around. And if you look at it's the combined, the defensive EPA and offensive EPA, I believe New England is dead last in the NFL. They're not doing anything defensively, and they're not doing anything offensively. It's a bad game. The Raiders should have a field day. Josh Jacobs should play well.
30-point games.
Josh Jacobs should play well. Awful. Jimmy Garoppolo, he should be fine. Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers should play well. And I'll say this for the Raiders. It was good to see young tight end Michael Mayer get some run last week. So hopefully Mayer can continue to keep it going. He's sort of the forgotten tight end from this class. It's all the Sam Laporta love, and deservingly so. But you look at Luke Musgrave, you look at Dalton Kincaid, Michael Mayer still waiting in the wings, and I like what I saw out of the big tight end out of Notre Dame in that matchup. But like you said, the storyline is Mac Jones. You said, does he finish the season? Hell, Jay, does he even get through the game this week? Does he even get through the game?
Ray, if he throws another pick six, he's benched. Like he's been benched, 2 weeks in a row now over his play? Like it's bad. And that's why, like in the New England area, in Boston sports media at NBC Boston, they're talking about Will Grier and playing like, they're basically trying to get him up to speed so he can play sooner rather than later so they can get a decent look at him and he can try and win the backup job maybe heading into next season. But yeah, Mac Jones is awful. You talk about truck or trailer, he's like a trailer with 3 wheels. Like he doesn't even, it's terrible in New England right now. But
Alex said Tyquan Thornton over Pickens was wild. Hell, there's probably like 5 other receivers that he got drafted over that was wild too, Alex. Hell yeah, it's wild. Very, very wild, Jay. Rams. Let's talk about those Rams, baby. Rams and the Josh Dobbs left Cardinals, man. Storyline. There ain't nobody else, man. I want to see Cooper Kupp, baby. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua again. Let's see these two go after it again for me. That's what I want to see. Cooper Kupp came back and 5 receptions on the first damn drive, and it was, oh no, Puka Nacua is dead. And then next thing you know, you look up and they both got the equal amount of targets. Nacua got the late separation to get the long touchdown catch. But it's seeing Cooper Kupp continue doing Cooper Kupp things versus this Arizona Cardinals defense and Puka Nacua. Matt Stafford airing it out. Tutu Atwell had missed out on like a 60-yard touchdown catch. Matthew Stafford put it just a little too far. He couldn't do anything. Kyron Williams didn't get a lot going on the ground last week, Jay, but you're firing up all Rams this week. Tutu Atwell, Puka Nacua, Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, and Cooper Kupp. Are we not?
Yeah, I think Tutu's interesting because I don't think we project the volume to be too high for him. It's like you said, if he can catch a long touchdown, or like last week where he was fortunate enough to catch the first touchdown,
Tutu or
he was
Mingo?
fine.
Tutu or Mingo? Remember there was the Mingo JSN conversation. Tutu or those two? I'm starting Atwell.
I'd start Tutu.
I'm not starting
start
goddamn
Tutu.
Jonathan Mingo. Starting Tutu.
Why do you gotta? Why people already hate Mingo? We don't gotta hate on him any more than that.
No. It's no hate to me. I actually kind of like Mingo, but until the offense can get its legs and Bryce Young can start, getting it going with his receivers, it's tough to throw a rookie wide receiver in a bad offense out there. You just don't want to do that. I'll bet on the team that's throwing the ball 40 times with Matthew Stafford, and he will take those YOLO shots. I'm firing up all of them. I really don't want to play Tyler Higbee, but in this tight end landscape, you starting Pat Freiermuth or Tyler Higbee?
Well, Pat Freiermuth is on bye, right?
I'm just
Thank
saying,
goodness.
would you rather start like a Pat Freiermuth or a Higbee? Would you rather start? Who else is in that
on
range?
The volume somewhere.
Who else is in that Freiermuth?
Name a guy.
Chig Okonkwo or Higbee?
So let me go through the list, Ray. Actually, here's the list from DK now. Tyler Higbee is ahead of Tyler Higbee or Kyle Pitts.
I'm starting Pitts. Pitts.
Tyler Higbee or Logan Thomas. That's tough. Logan Thomas is good.
Oh,
Logan Thomas is good.
Who the Commanders play again? Atlanta.
Other side of that game.
We'll fire up Logan. All
right. Chig against Baltimore.
That's what I'm saying. I'm probably starting Higbee, but
Conklin versus Philly. Philly's not good against tight ends.
I have no idea. I need to look at it. I don't. That's
Hunter Henry versus Vegas. Cole Kmet versus Minnesota. Wow. Oh, he needs a touchdown now.
Yeah, give me some Cole Kmet. Yeah, I'll start some Cole Kmet. All right, go
Ertz?
back. In this game versus Higbee. Ertz or Higbee, that's a good one.
I think it might be Ertz if it's a garbage game. But yeah, my big storyline is Amari DiMercato, right? The backup running back from TCU who was drafted to the Arizona Cardinals, who people should have been picking up off of waivers because he made the roster. Any running back on a 53 playing out yet again. The DD crew is thriving right now. Shout out to Scott Connor, to everyone who's every running back on a 53 guy.
I don't hate Mingo, Joe. I promise
Bro, Joe, since the Senior Bowl, I've been trying to get him on the Mingo train. He just refuses to. He's actively trying to derail my hype train. It's not good. They're throwing logs on the tracks.
I've got a lot of Mingo, dude. I like Mingo, and the fact that people don't like him, the KTC value makes me want to buy him. Makes it a little easier to buy. It's just Bryce. Bryce got to get it together, man. Bryce, you just don't want to start him right now. I'm not starting him right now.
Yeah, so back to DiMercato.
Yeah, sorry.
I want to start him this week. Number one waiver wire pickup for a lot of people. Should see a lot of action. James Conner has been phenomenal so far to start the season. I think the running game for Arizona is a lot better than we expected it to be. So I would be starting DiMercato. I think you want to have him. Cody, shout out to him. He did have DiMercato in his week 4 waiver wire article to go and pick him up. So you should have DiMercato on your rosters. If you're tapped into DD.com, then
Cody, I sent you a counter in our league. He tried to get my DiMercato for a third. I countered for a late second. So send your inbox, Cody, since you're up. Go press accept. Yeah, Jay, it's going to be interesting. What do you think that this Arizona backfield is going to look like? Because Ingram is playing, and I saw a report that they said don't be shocked if Rondale Moore is the leading rusher out of this game. He's already been playing running back for the Cardinals. He's been playing it this year. They've been running him there. I think it's going to be a full-blown sort of committee. I don't think it's going to be the DiMercato show. I think Keontae is going to get touches. DiMercato is definitely going to get touches. And I do believe Rondale Moore will take a snap or two out of the backfield, and then they end up probably riding the hot hand. Offensively, outside of the backfield, you've got Zach Ertz. If you need a desperation dart throw tight end that's maybe should see some volume. Hollywood Brown, I believe you can fire Hollywood Brown up. I would prefer not to start Michael Wilson. I play in a lot of best ball, so I have Mike Wilson, so I'm fine having him. If he catches a long pass or a touchdown, great. But the ones that you really feel good about, Marquise Brown. You're firing up Hollywood Brown, no doubt. Would you start Ingram? If you got Keontae Ingram, you've got DiMercato. So you would start DiMercato.
I would start DiMercato. He had 10 carries last week and 3 targets, and he only played part of a game. So I'm willing to bet that he can just continue to see volume. He also scored a touchdown last week, so I think there is reason to believe in him. Keontae Ingram didn't he have like 1 week where he randomly scored 3 touchdowns or something like that? So you never know what's going to happen, but I'd be willing to roll him out there. If you've dropped a bunch of fab on him, you have to roll him in your roster. At least for most people, you probably do, especially in some redraft leagues where you're desperate for running backs. James Conner's been good. I think you have to try and bet that he's the guy and will be good again for fantasy football heading into this week. Matchup is good against the Rams, too. They're okay against
the run. You said who?
For DeMarcado.
So you do believe that he's going to be like the bell cow running back?
Good enough, yeah. I think you should see 15 to 20 opportunities, and I think that's worth starting for a lot of people.
20 opportunities. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, 20 opportunities.
I mean, he had 13 last week.
Yeah. If he has 20, he needs to be. I mean, he is a locked and loaded RB2, no doubt about it. 20 opportunities. Right. Anybody else? Any Josh Dobbs love this week? Or are you going to leave that alone?
I mean, I want to believe in Josh Dobbs, but I'm not there. No, I want to believe in him.
I've got to ask, because I don't know if Joe's being funny right now, but she keeps calling him Big John Mingo. Is that really his kind of his nickname?
I've never heard him called Big John Mingo, but he is a big boy.
He is a big dude, Big John Mingo.
Stand next to John Mingo.
Joe
maybe
likes
because he is so big, we should call him John Mingo.
Big John, yeah, just not even Jonathan. Big John, yeah, Big John Mingo. We got Philly and New York. The Philadelphia Eagles traveling to New York to play the Zach Wilson-led Jets, Jay. There's also a big boy in this game, Jay. Big boy that's got to stop a dope running back. Can they do it? Can Jordan Davis and that Philadelphia Eagles defensive front contain Mr. Breece Hall, who was about to go for 200, baby? He was close to going for 200 in the game versus the Denver Broncos last week. What do you think about this one, man? This Eagles defense, how many interceptions for Zach Wilson? Over, under 1.5 for Zach Wilson.
Oh, under. Come on, Ray. Don't do that to Zach Wilson, my friend.
Okay.
Zach Wilson.
Let's go.
All right. So, I mean, the Eagles' pass defense, Ray, if you recall.
I do recall.
A certain quarterback named McCorkle, I believe is his name, was QB4 on the week versus this same Eagles defense.
Y'all trying to blast them into this to the.
They're trying to send them to the USFL, man.
Yeah,
they're trying to send them trying to demote them down to another league.
It's USFL / XFL now. They joined.
What do they call? Isn't there a name? Like they merged and there's like a new name they trademarked. I don't remember what it's something. Maybe they're both the USFL. I forget. Either way,
it's good.
This is very not important.
I'm excited for it. I am excited for I enjoyed watching the XFL. And there were some good players in USFL, so to see them combine up, it'll make for good spring football.
Oh, you know what I think it is? I think it's called the National Spring Football League. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called now. The NSFL. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. The National Spring Football League. I believe was the trademark name.
Good marketing. Smart by Dwayne Johnson and company. Go ahead.
So, back to Zach Wilson.
Yeah, back to Zach Wilson. Who's going to be there.
And how good he is, right?
Yeah.
The Eagles are allowing the most air yards to wide receivers in the NFL this season, and they've allowed the 5th most receiving yards, and they're in the top 5 in both slot and out wide. So, Ray, I ask you this question. Can Garrett Wilson cook? This is the only thing that matters. Can we fire up Garrett Wilson? Can the Jets generate enough time for old Zach to get the ball to Garrett Wilson this week? I think they can.
You got to fire him up, man. He's running the routes. He's getting downfield. His Trinity score is quite high, Jay. We've actually got the tiers figured out. JB and I were talking about it last night. You got to fire him up. You got to fire up Zach Wilson. I saw some people talking about Conklin, old Tyler Conklin in the chat. You know, the Eagles, are they still bad against the tight end? Are they still bleeding?
Oh, yeah, they're still bad.
Yeah,
last week wasn't so bad because it all went to the wide receivers, but yeah.
Yeah, so... The Philadelphia Eagles should take care of business. This Jets defense has been, they're probably like, damn, man, how much do we have to do? The offense isn't really doing anything. How much do we have to do? But Philadelphia, are you good with, we're starting DeAndre Swift. We're starting A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You're starting Dallas Goedert. I don't believe there's anybody else from the offensive side of the ball that you need to worry about rolling out there as a starter. On the Jets side, you're going to start Breece Hall. You're going to start Garrett Wilson. Tyler Conklin, if you need a tight end, I think you can start Tyler Conklin. Like, you don't feel great about it, but you can start Tyler Conklin. Anybody else, I'm not firing up Alan Lazard. I'm good on Dalvin Cook. There's nobody else. There's nobody else for
I think we know who to start in this matchup. I'm just praying that we see something from Devontae Smith. Obviously didn't do a lot last week. Maybe this week he can be more involved in the offense.
Here we go. We're just going John Mingo today. Randall Cobb or Big John Mingo. Jay, you
gotta be Mingo.
Yeah, I would start.
Did you hear
Mingo.
that Mecole Hardman apparently is on the trade block?
I heard Mecole, he did an interview and he said he'd be open to it depending on the team. That's what Mecole Hardman said. And yes, since we're back to is the rest of the show, it's this person or John Mingo. That's the running joke now. I would start Mingo over doggone Randall Cobb. But yeah, we know who to start from this one. Philly on the road in New York. What's the over-under on this game, Jay? Do we know what the total for this game is? While you look it up, I'm going to look at
41.
Yeah,
not good. But I mean, the defense Philly defense will probably generate pressure, so we don't expect a ton of points from the Jets. And then same thing with the Jets. Jets defense will probably be fine. Like Philly's been good enough on offense, is how I would describe it. They kind of play down to their competition, and they are winning games. Sometimes they're winning games easily. Sometimes they're not winning games so easily. They're winning every game, so we can't really criticize them too much. But they aren't dominating in the way that we hope to see, which is fine.
I mean, Kansas City's win. They were talking about Kansas City last night like that too, that they're winning games, but they're going to have to play better football if they want to win it all. So, yeah. Philly should get it done. Low projected total in this one. Let's talk about Detroit and Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff. The Detroit Lions going to Tampa Bay. Is Amon-Ra in? Is Amon-Ra St. Brown in this week?
Should be, yeah. He's back at practice.
Back at practice. He's in. Storyline, David Montgomery, the bell cow. How many touches does he get? Dan Campbell flat out said, a guy that can handle the ball 25 to 30 times if needed. That's what Dan Campbell said. So David Montgomery, the bell cow, does he keep it going? What are some of the other fantasy football storylines out of this game, Jay?
Biggest one for me really is Chris Godwin, talking about him and Mike Evans. We don't really know the status of Mike Evans right now because Evans wasn't at practice, but then he was at practice.
I thought he
wasn't. He was, but the problem was that the open media availability portion of practice he wasn't there for, and then he comes back later in the day at practice, and it's like, okay, well, he actually logged a limited practice, so he should be on track to play. How valuable is he and how available is he? That's the biggest question. But Godwin, coming off a game where he had 8 receptions for 114 yards, Ray, still no touchdowns for Godwin. He is one of 4 players with 7+ red zone targets and less than 2 touchdowns. The other ones are Zay Flowers, who also has 0 touchdowns, and Garrett Wilson and KJ Osborne, who only have 1 touchdown on 7 red zone targets. So hoping to see some regression come in the way of Chris Godwin to get those touchdowns. And last week, without Mike Evans, 43.5% first read target share with Evans out. Now, that would obviously go down a bit with Evans in the lineup, but that was top 10 in the NFL last week for Chris Godwin. So even if I think he could be the lead dog in this game. I think it's a great matchup against Detroit, a team that's been getting killed by tight ends all year long. The middle of the field is wide open right now for the Detroit Lions, and I think that's the way you attack them, and Chris Godwin would be the guy to do it, especially with Mike Evans a little bit banged up. I think it's a perfect spot for Baker to go back to Chris Godwin in this matchup.
Yeah, according to PFF, I saw somebody comment a little nervous. Anybody else a little nervous about Monty versus its D-line? PFF has the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the dead last run defensive team in the NFL. 44.4 run defensive grade. They're last in the NFL, behind the Texans, Panthers, and the Giants. Last. So
it's weird, right? The Bears couldn't really run on them that well.
I know. The
Vikings didn't run on them very well.
Yep, their defensive grade overall is 9th worst in the NFL, according to PFF. Do with that what you will, but this is saying that the run defense isn't that bad, is not very good at all. And you inverse this thing around, and Detroit's is number 3, Philadelphia number 2. So
yeah, Detroit's run D is phenomenal.
You talk about being nervous about a running back. It's that Rachaad White that I'm nervous about firing up in this matchup. I saw a comment about Sam Laporta popping up on the injury report. Hopefully it's nothing major. Hopefully it's nothing major. If they say he's going to be limited but active, are you firing up Sam Laporta regardless?
I don't really want to. But reality is, Ray, you don't have other options. Like there really isn't guys out there that you want to start over Laporta.
Yeah, where would you pivot? Where could you even pivot
Travis
to?
Kelce may not play in the game. Yeah, he's getting 100 yards and like 9 receptions. Yeah. So I think Sam Laporta, while he's obviously not Kelce, I think he can kind of do a similar thing. He can catch 5 passes for 30 yards and probably better than what's on the waiver wire.
Gavin, I've got PFF pulled up. Dead last. Right now, Tampa Bay, dead last run defense. Dead last as of right now. Dead last. So, yeah, Smithshot said Denver was just the Miami game that they got decimated. I'm on it right now. So, yeah, Tampa Bay, pretty bad run defensive grade according to PFF. Makes me a little nervous about Breece Hall versus the Philadelphia Eagles in that matchup as well. Kind of talked about that, Jay. But outside of Baker Mayfield, Sam Laporta, David Montgomery, you're starting Jared Goff. Jameson Williams, what are you doing with old J-Mo, man? What are you doing with old J-Mo?
What?
Park him on the bench where he belongs, man. There's no way. There's no way. No way.
No hope.
Josh
like
Reynolds,
zero hope
this week for sure, and going forward, we'll see. Right? Like you can't start him. He's got to be on the bench until he does anything. And even if he does something, Ray, like my question for you is, what would it take for you to believe in Jameson Williams? Because like one long touchdown isn't going to get him in your lineup the following week. That shouldn't happen. It's got to be consistent usage, volume, targets. He seems like, I don't want to say a gadget player, but much like Jalen Hyatt, a player that you can't start, but can definitely score a big play or have a big game, but you don't believe in the volume week over week and production for a player like Jameson Williams.
Cody said J-Mo is discount Kadarius Toney.
Hey, Kadarius Toney scored this week. Don't say that.
J-Mo played 28 snaps last week. 15 of them were passing snaps, and then 13 of them were run blocking snaps. His offensive grade was a 47.4. Not good for old J-Mo, who dropped the first damn target that came his way from Jared Goff in that one. And after he dropped it, they panned over to Dan Campbell, to his face.
Just looking stunned, right?
They just looked. He was just looking at him, but it was just hilarious, Jay. The final game, unfortunately, that we must discuss is, the Giants and the Buffalo Bills. Jay, where do you want to go?
Here's simple question, right?
This feels like...
Can the Bills cover?
This feels like you go to one of those Pop Warner games and they say, we're just going to keep the clock running. We're just running clock. Well, let's just get this one over with so no kids get hurt. We're just going to run the clock very early so nobody gets hurt. Jay, I don't know, man. This should be a bloodbath. This should be... Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Do you think it could get so bad for the Giants, man, where they get a defensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown, Josh Allen runs two in, and then Gabe Davis doesn't get to do anything because the game is just so... You talk about a game being out of reach. You talk about Cleveland versus San Francisco earlier. At least Cleveland's got a defense that they can hang their hat on to try.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants ain't got no defense. The Giants ain't got no offense. The Giants ain't got no quarterback. I don't think Saquon Barkley's playing. Like, what are we doing in this matchup, Jay?
You got to pray, man. You got to pray. I think you start Gabe Davis because he scored a touchdown, I believe, in 4 straight weeks now. But outside of that, I mean, you look back to the Commanders versus the Bills, Ray, 37-3. The only player who had more than 35 receiving yards, Stephon Diggs, 8 receptions, 111 yards, but 0 touchdowns. Gabe Davis, 1 reception on 4 targets for 35 yards. You're praying he gets in the end zone. Saquon Barkley, does he play? Does he not play? How does Tyrod Taylor look if he plays? Because I think the question may be out is if Tyrod Taylor looks even okay, it's like, what is Daniel Jones doing back there? And why is he looking worse than Tyrod Taylor on offense? I think that's the biggest question.
Did you see what happened to old Tyrod when he got out there in relief of Daniel Jones last game?
Wasn't good.
The third snap, he got his ass hurt. They got him hurt. I mean, he was okay. He was able to get up, but he was hurt. He was injured. Third snap. This could be bad, Jay. This could be very, very bad for the New York Giants. Brian Daboll. There's a race to the first place. There's a race to first in the NFL draft, and the Giants are definitely in the mix. They are in lane
1 and
5,
4, baby.
They've got a good lane to get number 1 overall, and it will be interesting to see what they do if they're in a range to draft the quarterback, giving Daniel Jones that money. Listen, you start your Bills, somebody's going to be left out somehow. I think they're going to score defensive touchdown.
Would you start Dalton Kincaid if he's active? I think you can't. I can't do it. And Kincaid and Knox are no's for me. I would just turn another direction. You're praying they score, and I guess you're doing that with a lot of tight ends, but I just think the volume shouldn't be there. Like, we should see a lot of Lat Murray, some James Cook, some Damian Harris, like a bit of Josh Allen. This game is, I mean, look at Seattle, right? Seattle, same thing.
Here we go. Cody said Denver they just cut Frank Clark. Expect that Judy trade coming soon. If he goes to Carolina and you pair him up, even though he didn't even freaking play with Bryce Young, right? But people will say, "Oh, Alabama,
stupid."
The Alabama connection just
what are we talking about?
Mentally, the brainwaves from
Can we
Alabama.
pair him with Mac Jones too? Maybe get him in New England?
That'd be a disaster. Somehow that would be an absolute cluster with Jerry Jeudy in New England. You saw that yelling he was doing before the game? I saw somebody tweet out betting the Jerry Jeudy ladder up to 100 yards after he was yelling around on that game. But, yeah, Jay, this Giants game is terrible. I mean, Sunday night, we're watching it. 14-point spread. That's 14.5. Man.
Imagine having a wider spread than the Niners versus the Browns. I mean, it's predicated on the Browns' defense.
Right. But yeah, this is our Sunday night matchup.
Largest spread of the week.
Real quick, are you starting any of your Giants? Any Giant? I would start one.
Who? Waller?
I'd start Darren Waller. In this tight end landscape, I'm starting Darren Waller. I would start Darren Waller. Like, who else? I would start Darren Waller, and that's about it, Jay. That's not even about it. That's all I'm starting is Darren Waller from this matchup.
That's fair. I can get on board with starting Darren Waller, but yeah, thank God I do not have any Giants, so I don't have to worry about starting any of them. It's really just Jones, who is firmly parked on my bench in all of the leagues I have him in.
Leo said Carolina calls Steve Smith for advice. No way. He goes to the Panthers now. Yeah, I doubt it. And then Chad said it was Cody saying that, right? It was Cody just saying that. So I guess it's not any news. But all right, there. And then Rich said anyone in this chat can get a sack versus that offensive line in New York. I don't know, Richie. I don't know if we all
put me off the edge versus Evan Neal, baby. I got it.
You got it.
I got it. You won't even see me. Won't even see me off the edge. I'll just sneak on past.
Hey, we don't do this often, but there's a big college game on this weekend that everybody should be. We got Oregon, Washington, Michael Penix.
Oh, yeah.
Bo Nix. We got Oregon, Washington. Let's see what else is on the college slate real quick. I know we've got Oregon, Washington.
Yeah, Dunze and Franklin should be a good game.
And Franklin, that should be a great game as we try to figure out.
Alabama, Arkansas.
We got Colorado versus Stanford this weekend. Florida State, Syracuse,
Utah, Cal, maybe.
It's Oregon, Washington, 3:30.
A&M, Tennessee.
Let me. I got one for you, Jay. Since we're USC, Notre Dame. What am I talking about, Ray?
Is that game at home or on the road?
Let's go. You got Miami, UNC after that colossal failure by Miami last week. Jay, I want to talk about one college quarterback real quick, and I was talking with Emory Hunt about this the other day. Jaden Daniels. I like Jaden Daniels, man. I like Jaden Daniels, Jay. I like Jaden Daniels.
But Ray, we've been crapping on Jaden Daniels for years. We can't reverse course now.
No, we have not. Not Jaden Daniels. No, we have not. Jaden Daniels, I like what he's doing at LSU. This is a player that Jim Nagy said is going to be a riser too. Senior, he's dominating right now. Absolutely dominant right now.
And he's been doing it since last season, too.
I believe he is second or third in all of college football in passing yards. Did you know that Malik Neighbors, through 6 games this collegiate football season, has more receiving yards than any LSU wide, more than Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Odell Beckham. I think it's the most since Odell Beckham Jr. through this point in the season. Like, Malik Neighbors is balling right now. This offense is moving good.
Yeah, they got Auburn.
Daniels, I think he's like third in the Heisman Trophy, or he would have been. They said his stats are projected to be there, but the team they've lost 2 games. But Daniels, I'm excited for that one. So LSU plays Auburn this weekend, and that's always a dope game. And it's going to be in Baton Rouge, so I know it's going to be going down out there. What's up?
Michael Penix on DraftKings is the favorite for the Heisman. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
He is plus 210, and Caleb Williams is plus 230. But to your point, Bo Nix, 6-1. So he's battle of 1 and 3rd for the Heisman right now. This could be a massive game for Heisman implications.
So we're over time, but since y'all like college and Joe's talking about it, Malik Neighbors is my wide receiver too, Joe. Like, I love Keon Coleman. I love the athleticism. Keon Coleman is dope. Malik Neighbors, I've been pumping him up for 2 years now. Like, he's the real deal. He's the real deal. And all the mocks right now, Joe, he's top 15 just about every mock. There's a lot of dope receivers. Like Washington, Oregon, if you're on the air, you're Dynasty foot, watch that game. You got 2 awesome receivers in that game. Troy Franklin, Rome Odunze. You also have Bucky Irving, and I said Devon Achane is going to be big for Bucky Irving. Now, Irving, I don't believe is as fast as Achane, but Watch that game. Bucky Irvin, Penix, Bo Nix, Franklin, Odunze.
Oh my God.
It's a good game. This is going to be a good. There's some nice matchups on this weekend. Texas A&M, Tennessee. You've got Evan Stewart, battling for that wide receiver 1 spot in 2025 with Luther Burden. You got Kansas, Devin Neal versus Ollie Gordon at Oklahoma State. Man, then you got Luther Burden versus Kentucky. Got Tito McMillan, Arizona versus Cam Ward at Washington State. USC, Notre Dame. Damian Martinez and Oregon State versus UCLA. Duke and Riley Leonard. I think he's supposed to be back from his day-to-day with the ankle injury. Man, I love college. It's a good college slate this weekend. You should all be tapped into college, no doubt.
Yeah, no, Ray, you hit the nail on the head. A lot better than I thought it was going to be. So
I got a couple of super chats right here. We got one from DB4331. Appreciate you. John Mechie going to be a thing, buy low or pass? Pass on John Mechie. Where you at, Jay?
Pass.
Yeah.
Tank Dell already took his job. There's no hope.
Yeah. And then our man Stanley, man. What's up, Stanley? He sent a
Let's go, Stanley.
Stanley, there's nothing in that one, but he's got another one. Love at George wide receiver.
What?
Stanley.
Ray, you're the college guy here, so I don't know what's going on.
Stanley, what are you saying here, man?
Is there a Love or a George?
Don't send another super chat, but just put the comment in the chat, Stanley.
Oh, he said I like Love at Georgia. Is that Julian Love or no? That's a linebacker. Who is Love at Georgia?
Okay, Love at Georgia.
What? Who's that? Do you know who that is?
No.
Is he talking about McConkey?
Lad McConkey? No. Why would he call Lad? I don't know what.
Maybe it auto-corrected. Maybe he likes Lad McConkey.
Maybe he likes, maybe it auto-corrected. Maybe
he
likes
Ben Skoranek.
Maybe he likes Lad because I don't know if there's a Love there. I mean, there's Brock Bowers there who's balling out, but I don't know.
I did say hilarious that he's the only receiver at Georgia that I know is, of course, Lad McConkey.
Yeah. Okay. Love the wide receiver.
Georgia
the transfer. You're talking about Ra Thomas. You're talking about Ra Thomas, the transfer from Mississippi State. Mississippi State, Ra Thomas. Oh, Missouri wide receiver. Well, they have one from Mississippi State, Ra Thomas. That's super dope. He's good. Damn, Stanley's got us working. Stanley
with a deep cut.
Stanley got that pack blazing this morning, early in the morning. Stanley went ahead and fired that bitch up. I feel you, Stanley. But we appreciate. Hey, I got to do some college stuff. I did not know the DD fan was still into college like I am, so I might do a little something for the 24 class. Maybe I'll drop that on Saturday morning. Yeah, Joe said Stanley goes deep. Stanley can say whatever he wants, man. Stanley comes here. He supports the show. We appreciate all of y'all. Joe, Graphic, Jimbo. Who else is in here? Cody Smith. Make sure you check out Cody and what he's doing with Overreaction Podcast. Him and Chase are up next. I promise you, those two are like fantasy stars in the making. Trey got a South Carolina Gamecocks avatar up. We just appreciate y'all, man. We are 15 minutes over the show, but JB is in the building. Look at that. Jordan back. Oh, love it. There we go. Thank you, JB. Thank you, JB. I'm with you, Stanley. Yes, got you, Stanley.
Finally, someone who knows college football is on the show. Thank God, JB, because it was not going to be me.
No, or me, clearly. I don't like it enough either. Clearly, I don't watch enough college ball.
Those Bulldog games, man.
Hey, JB's doing some good stuff in Destination Devi, man. He's doing some good stuff. He's cranking out about 2-3 articles a week. He's working on our Trinity
IDP dropped today.
IDP article dropped today, so make sure you check that out. And y'all have a good weekend. Enjoy college this weekend. Enjoy the NFL this Sunday. Make sure you wake up with us on Monday morning. This Sunday, Mitch and I will be doing breakfast and bets to sort of give you guys some good plays for the Sunday slate. I may drop something tomorrow for college. We'll see how old GQ's feeling. It was a late night for old GQ last night. It was a late night. But appreciate everybody being in the chat. Good show, Jay. You were on fire today, my friend. Let me give you an air horn.
You as well, man. Thank you.
On fire today. Hit the music so we can get out of here. Let me do some pumping up of some stuff to sell.
Let's go.
Use all the promo codes. Wake up on
Astro still
Underdog.
active on the website too.
I deactivated that code. There's no more free, no more free memberships. Hell no. Go pay $9.99 a month. We appreciate everybody being in the building. We love y'all. Hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, like the content, check out everything on DD. Have a great damn weekend. Great show. Thank you, Top Dog. Thank you, Garrison. Thank you, Joe, Richie, Jimbo, Leo, Lindsey, Mack. You have a great day too. Jimbo, we're done now. He said hockey talk. Get the hell out of here. Where's the outro at? We love
Connor Bedard, baby. Making me tons of money right now. Let's go. Thank you.